As human society progressed, they finally found the answers to a question that had baffled everyone for ages. What is a soul? The answer dawned on humanity one day, and the essence of human souls was discovered. It was named Edaya. Humans could become aware of their souls or Edaya, and the latter soon took over in importance. It became more important than the soul as the question of the soul's nature was solved. This knowledge brought a great gift to humans. They could materialize their Edaya into special abilities and do otherwise impossible things. But one man's gift became another's curse. Based on the type and strength of the Edaya, people began classifying everyone. It spread from being just prejudice to being a social system. People were classified into ranks according to their Edaya and fighting abilities. Those who had lower ranks were discriminated against at every step, while those with higher ranks gained everyone's respect. The world changed as the labels were put on every soul. It began to revolve around Edaya and the corresponding combat abilities. The schools turned into factories of identifying and polishing strong people into soldiers and supplying them to wars. The students became people who craved battles and violence. In one such school, the protagonist of the story is a student. A fight is taking place in a playground between a few students. The Hyundai Special Training High School is a place where students train their Edaya to become soldiers useful to their country. A bunch of students are surrounding just one boy. They plan to beat him with their numbers because his strength is greater than theirs. In the fight that breaks out, the boy manifests his Edaya as a large iron axe. The people surrounding him are no match for him even in superior numbers. He takes them all out in a battle against different classes at the same standard. Park Jin-sung, a lean boy wearing spectacles and with a shabby hairdo, is standing in the corner watching the battle. He was with the group, or he was supposed to be. But he has no intention of fighting in the battle as he knows it will make no difference. He is the lowest of the low, the only F-rank student in the entire school. His classmates call him to join the fight, but he politely refuses. They are not going to be polite to him later as they tell him to wait for the payback. They blame their loss on his non-participation, even though they realize that he would not make any difference in the result. They probably just like to bully him because he can't fight back. They beat him up and call him a worthless piece of trash. But Park Jin-sung doesn't retaliate. He takes the hits and only dodges the one which could do serious damage. His Edaya probably grants him the ability to dodge any attack. His bullies get even angrier at this, but Park Jin-sung acts like a fool and still talks to them politely. They decide to beat their frustration into him, but he runs away. His physical abilities are also quite low and he is caught quickly. As he is getting pummeled by his classmates, everyone makes fun of him. No one likes to be in the same class as him and they think that he should just quit the school for everyone's sake. The bullies tell him that he doesn't need to tell anything to the teacher as it was his fault that he was weak. But the teacher comes in, interrupting the commotion. His name is Yongho and he is quite familiar and friendly with his students. But right now, he is really excited about some good news he wants to share with the class. The government has realized the potential of the students in their school. The school is going to become the test site for a military program, and the students will be trained to be directly drafted into the army once they graduate from school. One student, Bayan Jiyoung, does not like the idea. He knows his teacher well enough to guess that the plan and the program were going to be a bit weird. He is one of the top students in the class when it comes to combat abilities, but average otherwise. He quarrels with the teacher about the changes going to be made, but there is nothing either of them can do. The interest of the military was due to the splendid performance of the third-year students. They were going to be graduated as ranked officers in the army. But in each class, the students would be graded according to the new system and would be issued military ranks as well. The teachers would be given the rank of platoon commander and the class would be a platoon. The whole standard would be a squadron. Park Jin-sung is not impressed with the changes that are going to be implemented soon. He knows that he will be the one who will face the most problems. He asks the teacher about the students who don't want to take part in the training system. The teacher becomes serious and tells him that the regimen was compulsory for all the students and those who did not want to take part could try to transfer to another school. Yongho does not try to hide the fact from him that he wants Jin-sung to transfer schools. But before he can reply, other students start bombarding the teacher with questions. They demand to know more about the reasons and the impacts of the change. Yongho starts telling them as he distributes their rank badges to them. He explains how the third years were already given the rank of sergeant, but the second years would get a chance to rise even higher by the time they reach graduation. And it was an opportunity for him as well, as the performance of his class would benefit him the most. He keeps on talking and distributing the badges, but Jin-sung feels like the teacher has forgotten about him. He has not received his badge yet. Forget that, Teacher Yongho had not even looked at him. Then the teacher explains in a stern tone that only one student had failed to attain the lowest rank of a private in the entire school. That was none other than Park Jin-sung. He would have to start as a trainee recruit. Those words are a shock to Jin-sung, not that he thinks that he was better than that. but it was because he thought that the starting rank would have lenient standards. But he cannot say anything that would make things better for him, so he stays quiet. Later, Young-ho calls him into the office to talk. He does not beat around the bush and asks Jin-sung to consider changing schools. He knew he couldn't achieve anything here. Jin-sung tries to convince him and asks that he might suddenly unlock his potential and could improve a lot. The teacher bursts out laughing. He thinks that Jin-sung was joking when he was actually being earnest. Jin-sung is disgusted that the teacher thinks so less of him. While the teacher acts like he is considerate of his students' weaknesses, he just wants to get rid of him. An F-rank student would be a blot on his track record. Jin-sung realizes it and asks him if he really thought that souls had ranks to them too. Young-ho laughs at it, thinking that it was just another joke. He tells Jin-sung that there are ranks in the souls and that was why Anayas had ranks too. But Jin-sung does not agree with his opinion. He seems to know a dark secret that could change the understanding of Anaya and souls forever. The military system is enforced and the platoon or class is divided into squads. Squads 1, 2, and 3 of Class 10 have 10, 11, and 11 members respectively. Each squad has a sergeant who is responsible for the rest. The attendance is also in military style and the sergeant tells how many people are present out of the full strength. Bayan Jian is the sergeant for Squad 3, which also includes Park Jin-sung. He refuses to count him as a squad member while giving the attendance report and openly calls him a piece of shit during the report. Everyone laughs at Jin-sung and even the teacher doesn't say anything to them. The class today is going to be a field activity. There will be squad battles and people from the military would be watching. These scouts had decided on the matchups and would be watching from a secret place to assess the performance and potential of the students. All the students from the first, second, and third years would participate. While the students think that the battles would be between squads at the same standard, they are proven wrong quickly. Ji-young and his squad are going to fight with Squad 1 of Platoon 1 of the third year. The news strikes Ji-young like a thunderbolt. He was confident in his C-rank Edaya and combat ability, but that would not give any advantage against the third years, and Class 1 was supposed to be the best even among them. He loses heart as the teacher and the rest of the students leave them to prepare for the battle. He is already frustrated, but then he vents it out, saying that their chances would be even lower considering that they had the worst student in the entire school in their squad. But Jin-sung doesn't bother about what he says. He was planning to watch from the sidelines the whole time. After all, his team was strong enough. But if they were going against third years, it would be different. He is dejected just from hearing this. Ji-young confronts him and starts beating him. He knows that Jin-sung is not going to be useful for anything. He just took a spot and filled it without giving anything in return. There is a monster in the squad they are going to fight. On Sunho, a third-year student, is renowned for his power. How could they fight him and the others if Jin-sung was with them? Ji-young shouts at Jin-sung that he would be the reason if anyone's record got a negative in this battle. He is fed up with the polite and submissive way he always uses and that he dares to crack jokes even when things were so serious and tense. But it was no use taking his frustration out on him. He has a brilliant and evil idea. He is going to use the useless soldier as his line of defense. Jin-sung will be a meat shield for the sergeant of the squad. Jin-sung had already said that he would take any role the sergeant would offer, but he regrets his words. He does not have the strength to free himself from Ji-young's grip as the latter carries him to the battlefield. As expected by everyone, On Sung-ho is the sergeant of Squad 1 of the 1st Platoon, 1st Squadron. The two squads are standing side by side and the teacher calls both of the sergeants ahead. They are both ready to fight and impress the scouts with their abilities. All the students of the school are also ready to see the showdown. The rules are simple. The students have been given bracelets that would break once they have received significant damage. If the bracelet breaks, the person is out, and when everyone is out, the squad loses. But since it was the second year versus the third year, things were made a little easy for them. They had to hold their ground for 5 minutes and it would be their victory. But it did not seem like even that would be possible. The squad of the third year was full of powerful people. For the second year students, it would not be possible to defend their territory and leader for 5 minutes. As the second years prepare for the battle, Jin-sung is being mistreated and handled like a shield. But even then, he hopes that if his squad wins, the teacher would consider that he actually has something to contribute to the team. Just as the match starts, Ji-young displays his strategy. It is as simple as it is selfish. He runs away carrying Jin-sung and leaves his squad members stranded. They ask him for instructions and he yells at them to protect him. That was all they needed to do for the next 5 minutes. But that is easier said than done. It takes only 2 third years, Sung-ho and a girl named Jui, to take out much of the second years. They collect the bracelets effortlessly as the girl heads towards Ji-young and Jin-sung. Ji-young yells at him to block her attack in any way he could. But Jin-sung acts like he has no idea. He tells his squad leader that they should run away in opposite directions to confuse the enemy. But then he sees teacher Young-ho looking at him with a smile. That smile tells Jin-sung only one thing. He wants him to lose and transfer him elsewhere. This irritates him and he does the unexpected. He shoves his sergeant to one side. But that was wonderfully timed as Jui misses hitting either one of them. She thinks that it must be in fighting within the group and aims at Jinsung, who is closer to her. But he somehow dodges her initial attack and she realizes that it was neither in fighting nor a fluke that he managed to dodge her earlier. She unleashes her Edaya and an elegant armor covers her body. Jinsung acts like a fan when he sees her Edaya and compliments her that it looks stunning and powerful. She tells him not to play a fool boo. Jinsung has plans to distract her. He diverts her attention to their squad leader, who is running away at full speed. But there are still 3 minutes left for the match to turn in their favor. He cannot let himself or his sergeant be caught if he wants to win. He decides to waste time however he can manage. He asks the girl if he could call her Nuna or just stick with Sunbi. He then shies away, saying that he was not trying to flirt or anything. But she is not buying into his tricks. She tells him to display his Edaya at once or she would fight him in his weakened state. She guesses that considering the way he could react to her speed, he would have a valuable Edaya. He tries to act pathetic and talk about incoherent things to slow her down. But when she takes a step towards him, he gives up and finally reveals his Edaya. It is just a dagger that is no bigger than a kitchen knife. It is F rank and has nothing remarkable, he can tell her. He shows her that it was completely ordinary and not even dangerous. That sight gives the girl a headache. She finally realizes who was the man in front of her. She had been wasting her time with the rumored F rank failure. Her hopes of finding a good opponent are shattered and she leaves as Jinsung is gladly telling her how he cherishes his dagger. She walks away and Jinsung runs after her, saying that she was the one who wanted to see his Edaya in the first place. She tells him to waste someone else's time. It was just a fluke after all that he could react to her speed. She was disappointed, but that could be saved for later. He follows her even after Jui warns him. She is being considerate, knowing the difference in their strengths and experience. She even gives him a final warning that she would attack him if he kept following her. But just as she turns to give him a scornful look, she finds that he is already ready to attack. He had really snuck up behind her and was going to deliver a blow, but she noticed. He had hoped that she would ignore him considering how ridiculous he was. But she weighs sincere towards her junior and turned to look at him. She sees the attack and realizes that she can barely defend herself. It was a good thing that she had her armor on, otherwise the dagger would be fatal. And the F-ranked man was coming at her with good momentum. She parried the attack with her arm and was surprised that it made no scratch where it hit. His embarrassing truth was revealed to his senior. He tries to laugh it off, but the ones who actually find it funny are his classmates. Even the girl gets second-hand embarrassment from this. She admits that he had good reflexes, but with this useless Edaya, he couldn't do anything. It was better if he stopped trying. Jinsung checks his watch again and finds out that even though he attracted attention and made a fool of himself, he could only stall her for 1 minute. There were still 2 more minutes and not many of the squad members were still active. The girl finally reaches Bayan Jiyoung. He curses his teammates for being weaklings, but the girl tells him that at least they were not cowards like him. He is face to face with a fearsome opponent and he tries to bluff his way out of the situation. He tells her that she better stay away from him or she would be humiliated. She replies that it would be fine because that would prove his abilities to her. Jiyoung takes a step back and considers that it was just a stroke of terrible luck, but then something happens that makes him change his mind. His foot touches a stone stuck in the ground, and he can tell using his Edaya that it is massive. He feels like the tables have turned. Jiyoung's Edaya is extract and swing. He can use anything that was stuck somewhere to attack his opponent. The mass of the stuck object that he can control depends on his training, and he felt that the stone beneath him was big enough to win against a third year. Jinsung has realized what was Jiyoung's real plan. He wanted to run and hide while finding something suitable to use his Edaya abilities on. They were C rank now but had the potential to become B rank with some training. Jinsung shouts and tries to warn the unsuspecting Jui about the danger. Jiyoung throws the rock with a lot of force. The girl is not scared of the giant rock coming at her with great speed. She is impressed that a second year could pull off a move like that. But just as Jiyoung is celebrating the impending success of his attack, he finds someone behind him. On Sungho sneaked up on him and pinned him to the ground before he realized it. Jiyoung finds it unfair that a third year should use the way only weak were supposed to use. Meanwhile, Jui is having a hard time stopping the rock. But Sungho interferes and pushes the rock aside easily. She is really angry at his interference but keeps her anger hidden. It seems that she had issues with Sungho trying to jump in when she was trying to prove herself. She asks him if did he not believe she was capable of handling this situation. Sungho replies that he trusted her but it was his duty to take care that his squad members stay safe. And he was sure that Jiyoung had some more dirty tricks up his sleeve. He uses his Edaya I'll definitely catch you to catch Jiyoung, who was sneaking behind him with a bat. Sungho's Edaya was B in rank and it gave him the ability to catch everything he wanted within his range. He could just warp to the location immediately and not waste a single moment in his actions. His combat ability was a plus, which was as good as it got. Jinsung notices the power of the man considered to be a monster and surrenders just as he looks at him. But Sungho wants to know why he alerted an enemy when his squad leader was about to attack her. Jinsung tells him that he could not decide what to do and warned her in the heat of the moment. But the answer does not convince Sungho, who uses his Edaya to attack him. He is there without any time passing. He catches Jinsung by his collar and his dagger gets tossed into the air. Jinsung tells him to let him explain, but his senior does not seem to be in the mood for that. But Jinsung is not what he appears to be. He catches the dagger from an awkward position while being caught by his powerful senior and swings it at him. The attack could potentially be so dangerous that even the monster Sungho is forced to step back. He is even more interested in Jinsung now, but Jinsung is interested in stalling him for the last minute left. He checks his watch and wishes that time could flow faster for a bit. If he could last for that long without showing his true strength, that would be ideal for him. But can he manage to defend himself from the strongest student in the school? Does he really have a hidden power beyond his F-rank Edaya? What is that power, and will he show it to the entire school now? Let us find out. How far will he go to stay in the school he does not even like in the next video.